WashDOT Northwest Region GEC project is also known as the Fish Passage Project, but it's not entirely focused on fish passage alone. It's essentially any of the project delivery needs that our client WashDOT has, we help them to meet. But of course, the most interesting work from my perspective as a biologist, and certainly the bulk of our work right now, is dedicated to providing fish passage for listed fish species in Washington State. It is a very, very long history. It goes all the way back to tribal treaty law. Northwestern tribes in Washington State, when they signed treaties with the U.S. government, gave away their land resources in order to retain their maritime and water-based resources, predominantly fish and shellfish. So by right, they have access and rely upon fish populations throughout Washington State for their livelihood. You can't have an access to a fish right if there are no fish to fish. So that also now extends to habitat. You need to have habitat that supports commercially harvestable fish populations in order for that to be a meaningful right.
So back then they had different standards, criteria to design these culverts. You know, the criteria wasn't really centered on fish movement. It was more based purely on a hydraulic design. You know, as you can imagine, as you build up the highway, you're crossing over streams, and back then they had to put in, 4 5-foot culverts in the stream to be able to convey that historical flow through the crossing and downstream.
It's a unique project, right? It's not building a new freeway or widening or adding lanes to an interstate, but instead it's addressing some issues and challenges that were developed when we originally built a lot of the roads back in the 50s. And so we're correcting a lot of those locations where just small culverts and pipes were kind of thrown down in the roadway, and they created these barriers for fish that, they're certainly not intentional and didn't know at the time, but now that we've seen how that's impacted the fish migration and spawning habitat, there's a great opportunity to fix that.
And so this structure here and some upstream will look at what size that will be to not only let the fish pass, but to have that sediment, small large woody material, canopy cover all come through and have this ecosystem where they can thrive and develop.
So a lot of these places are pretty heavily urbanized, so we're having to deal with areas that are going under shopping malls, through parking lots, or through beautiful wooded areas like this. So every site is very unique. Every site has its own set of challenges.
These city streets, they have dozens of underground utilities. So getting through all of that has been very challenging because you can't just not replace them. You have to replace them somewhere, somehow.
We have people that specialize in how you put wood in a stream to create habitat, and biologists that understand how the fish use that habitat, and we have geomorphologists that focus on the stream life and how it's changing over time, and so it's a team approach.
Part of the process is getting the co-managers, the other parties involved in this, to agree on where we do and how we make that crossing. And so part of it is going and looking at either downstream or upstream and understanding the processes that exist or desirable that you would want to try to mimic when we're actually making a stream crossing.
I look at it as we're on a scale, a balance, and we may have tipped the balance too far this way, and we're trying to correct it to at least this. Hopefully, eventually, over time, we're going to be able to correct it in favor of the fish. And that's the goal here for the state, the tribes, and HNTB to be all part of this process, collaborating, working together to try and solve one of the biggest problems there is along the West Coast. Fish passage is huge, habitat restoration and reconnectivity.
We all have to learn how to be in a symbiotic relationship here, right? Salmon are very important, not only to the ecosystem, but to people. And for us to be able to provide and restore the habitat to allow that symbiotic relationship to keep on happening, I think is a very important part.
sustainability is one thing that I hear from the young engineers or even young biologists too. So I think to get them interested and excited working on this type of project is really exciting.
It's really cool. I'm working on things that are helping the environment, and it's correcting issues that are present today, and hopefully once we correct them, they'll be able to be fixed for years upon years, and I get to be able to point at that when I'm retired and done with my career and be like, I did that.
Coming to work at HNTB and knowing like there's a ton for me to do and there's not going to be a shortage of work, I mean, that's a huge draw and one less thing to worry about in a career standpoint.
I think why I'm excited about this project, one, I would say teamwork, because this is a really multidisciplinary team. Not a single branch or not a single person can do the job. So for a complete fish passage, we probably need engineers, hydrologists, geomorphologists, traffic engineers, roadway engineers, geotech, structure, environmental, real estate, communication, you name it. So how you put all these people together, that's really, really important. Same time, it's fun to work with a talented group of scientists, engineers, and professionals to deliver a project that has really meaningful impact to the environment and then to the stakeholders.
I'm excited to wake up in the morning and to work on these projects because I know they have a real life implication on everyone. So it's really cool that we can help try to preserve these populations to help them thrive again.